everybody, it's Michael Dunaway. I'm the film editor for Paste Magazine, and I'm here at the Sennheiser plus Paste Interactive Studio and Lounge at South by Southwest 2013. And I am here with Kamau Bell and Kevin Avery from Totally Biased with Kamau Bell. And thank y'all for coming by and sharing some time with us.
Thank you. Technically, it's with W. Kamau Bell.
With W. Kamau Bell.
I don't want to be confused with all the other Kamau Bells out there.
That's right. See, I got the names right and then got the show wrong, right?
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. There's a lot of Kamau Bells out there who don't want to be associated with me, so I had to get the W legally.
That's right.
I don't even have a name for it, but I had to get it legally.
Now, Kevin is the head writer for the show.
Yeah.
So he's basically the only reason that Kamau is funny.
Basically. Thank you. Thank you for finally recognizing that. This is an outside source. Don't make that face. Don't make that face.
Just so many things I can say. I'm really exercising restraint.
Please do.
And you guys have a history together. So why don't you talk about sort of how long you've been working together and what you've done?
You can't legally call somebody a fluffer, so I've given them the title head writer. Because legally, fluffer is not. You can't put that on your W-2. And I respect Kevin too much to just call him a fluffer.
But you did work the word head in there, which is good.
Yeah, head, yes.
The hell is this?
Hey, right the head. This has already gotten off the rails.
Yeah, this is, no.
Me and Kevin met when I moved to San Francisco about 15 years ago, and we hated each other because we have opposite black guy disease.
Yeah.
Like, that black guy's different than me. I must hate him, even though we're very similar. And over the years, we hated a third black guy, so we came together to hate that guy.
Yeah.
And then we started writing together, and then we've been good friends ever since. And now he's the head writer of Totally Biased.
Nice. There's really nothing like hate to bring you together.
No,
Yeah.
hate is a very clarifying emotion.
Hate will drive a comedian's career.
Yeah. Believe me, I'm only here because of a lot of hate.
Yeah.
I'm so filled with hate. People don't realize he's so friendly. Oh, that's a mask. I hate this right now.
Well, there you go.
I'm just kidding. Or is he? I'm just kidding. This is fun. I'm just afraid this house isn't up to code, and if the cops come, that will be arrested.
Yeah, we'll be
that's
the
how
ones.
that works. The black guys must have done it.
We
the black
built it.
guys must have done it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. We'll all point to you, so we'll help them
Even if
along.
you don't have to point, just officer, I think you see the problem.
Ackblay over there.
Ackblay.
So, it's so having heard some of your stuff. It's even if I had not known that Chris Rock had helped you get the show started, it would have. The two of y'all are certainly very simpatico. Why don't you talk about how you and Chris? I'm sure you've told a million times how you and Chris came together and comment on what you see as some common ground in your work.
This is basically a question of like, hey, guy who's not famous, how did you meet Chris Rock? I'll answer that question. I had a live stand-up comedy show called the W. Kamau Bell Curve, Ending Racism in About an Hour, where if you brought a friend of a different race, you got in 2 for 1. Which, as I like to point out, not even Martin Luther King Jr. did that at the March on Washington. So I am better than him, is what I'm trying to say. Of course, he also didn't charge admission. But so I was doing that show. A couple of people who know Chris saw the show, Chuck Sklar and Jacqueline Cooper, and they basically told Chris he had to come see my show. So I was doing it at the UCB Theater in New York. And after the show, it was a good show. And I walked backstage, and Chris Rock floats backstage on a cloud, dressed in black like it's the Matrix. And he's like, yeah, you're funny, man. Yeah, where do you live? And I said, San Francisco. He's like, oh, move. Nothing's in San Francisco. And I'm like, I am. He's like, that's not anything. But if you want to be something, move. And we had a good talk. And then a couple months later, he called me and said, I want to help you get a TV show. Yeah. And I was like, okay, what does that mean? And he said, I'll handle it. And he literally, we produced a pilot for him, then a pilot for a pilot that he funded, and then we sold it to FX. He's basically Dr. Dre, and I'm Eminem, and this is 50 Cent. That's how it works.
You're going to have to take off the shirt, Kevin, to show us.
I'm not doing that.
Are you ready for some comedy? Kevin, take off your shirt.
Comedy gold right
Nobody
there.
wants that.
Ladies, who wants to see Kevin with his shirt off? Or men, who wants to see Kevin with his shirt off?
How dare you?
Wow, nobody.
She does. I got one fan over there.
We got 2.
I'm not taking off this shirt.
They're masochists, though.
I'm not.
Well, and again, not to be the white guy asking the black guy this question.
But here we go.
Yeah. But here we go. I really feel like both you and Chris have this refreshing ability to talk about things that neither white nor black people generally have permission to talk about. And I think that's really liberating for people to hear. It's probably liberating for you to do. Tell me about getting to that place. And was it just starting from a point of, I just don't give a damn what anybody else thinks, I'm going to say what I feel? Or how do you get to that place of being willing to brave the...
I mean, I think a prominent white guy, Jerry Seinfeld, once said that whenever you're angry or frustrated, that there's comedy there.
Yeah.
And I heard that years ago, and I always felt like whenever I'm in a situation where I get angry or frustrated by something, there's a joke there somewhere. And I just tend to be the kind of comedian. I only want to talk about things I give a shit about.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, other comedians can talk about that, but other things. But I just feel like if I'm going to talk, you're only on stage for like an hour.
Yeah.
The show's 21 minutes with commercials, 21 minutes and 15 seconds. We might as well only talk about things we actually give a shit about.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's plenty of other comics out there who will talk about the other things.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to be here, and I don't know how long I'm going to be here, because as you pointed out, I'm not famous. So I need to sort of spend that time wisely, and that's what we do on the show.
Almost.
I'm almost famous.
We'll give you almost.
Yeah, and that movie wasn't a hit, so it's just a weird thing. I just feel like I need to spend that time very effectively because there's other people. I don't know how long I'm going to be doing it, and I just feel like there's not that much time to talk on stage. If you only talk for an hour a day, you can only talk about the things you really cared about.
Yes, I hear you. But there's even more to it than that because you're talking about it in a way that cuts through the bullshit and that you show a lot of courage to talk about some things that in a way, not only talk about the subjects, but talk about them in ways that people are not accustomed to talking about them.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
I think a lot of that is like me and Kevin met in the Bay Area, and the Bay Area is like a petri dish for weirdness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it just breeds, it just literally breeds weed. But anyway, I mean, also like you're allowed to sort of go whatever weird direction you want to go.
Yeah.
So I didn't really, because I wasn't in New York or LA, I didn't have anybody looking over my back telling me that's not how we do it. I was in the Bay Area where people were like, it's weird, yay! And so I just felt like I could keep going the weird direction I went, and I really wasn't aimed towards a TV show. Hey everybody, black guy talking. That white guy looks like nobody's ever said that to me before. Wait a minute, this is still Texas, Negro.
Am I getting punked?
Yes. Black guy with opinion afternoon. So I wasn't trying to get on television. I was just trying to express the purest version of my comedy, the comedy I was doing.
Yeah.
And it ended up sort of bringing me back around to this opportunity with Chris Rock. But really it's like, and that's what the story about, it's the 21st century, social media, new media opportunities. Chris saw me, funded a pilot, and literally hand-delivered me to FX. And FX kind of doesn't give a shit. They just like good stuff on the air. Yeah. So, calling our show good stuff. But so it's like all those things had to meet for it to happen. If this was 20 years ago, I would still be not famous and we wouldn't be talking right now.
There you go. Aisha Tyler, who's coming in on Tuesday, one of my favorites, has a great story about San Francisco when she, I guess, was thinking about getting married to her husband who is white, right? Yeah. And she was walking on the street and wondering, is this going to be like a life that I can really... And then she saw walking down the street a guy dressed like a nun carrying a guy on a dog collar who is dressed like Eddie Murphy from Raw.
Yes.
And she said, as long as we live in this city, I think we'll be all right.
Yes. Yeah. And that was the first time I met Aisha Tyler.
Really?
Comedy!
Nice. Set and spike. I got you covered.
All right, yeah.
Professional comedian. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about sort of arriving at the format of the show and what that process looked like to get to what's the best vehicle to bring the funny.
I mean, we're still figuring that out. We're only 19 episodes in.
Yeah.
And we knew the show from my solo show was going to be me in front of a screen talking about topical events. And then the rest of it is like sometimes if there's a story, like for example when Barack Obama mentioned Stonewall in his inaugural address, we were like, we want to talk about that, but the best vehicle isn't me. Let's actually get a transvestite to talk about Stonewall. Yeah. And so to me it was like we're always sort of just, what is the material demand, Instead of me going, let me tell you about Stonewall as a straight black guy who wasn't there, you know what I mean? So it was like, why don't we get a transvestite who actually knows some shit about that? And we have a diverse writing staff of people so it's not, most writers' rooms, and I hate to break the code, it's mostly straight white guys, Yeah. And I don't want to, straight white guys don't know everything. It's just, You rule
Damn
everything,
it.
but you don't know everything. So we decided on the show. We have a very diverse writing staff. So one of our writers, Guy Brandon, who's gay, wrote that piece and then called a transvestite he knows, and then we put that person on the Sherry Vines on the show. You know?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So it's like we're always trying to, what is the material demand? FX really tells us, keep pushing the envelope, keep stretching. The format is basically me talking in front of a screen, I interview somebody, and everything else is sort of up to us. And so we bring writers on the show like Dwayne Kennedy and Hari Kondabolu and Aparna Nancherla and Janine Brito and Guy to sort of also represent their side of the thing. You know?
Yeah.
And it keeps evolving. I mean, when we first started, we sort of threw in. It was very kitchen sink. We were thinking maybe we'll do sketches. We were doing a lot of stuff that we don't do now, and then we're doing some things that we didn't think we would do back then. I mean, we started doing man on the street pieces. We thought, that'd be fun to do, but now it's sort of one of the engines that drives the show, and it's been a bigger part of the show than we anticipated it would. So, I mean, the show itself keeps evolving, and we keep trying to find new ways to sort of deliver his voice and do what other people aren't doing. And that's the fun of, if you're gonna have a show, why not figure out, what's something, sort of fresh and new that we can do,
Well, I think that's a testament to y'all as, to use the A word, as artists too, that you don't hold so tightly into your own conception of the show, that you want to be responsive to the audience response and even your own response to what works and doesn't
it's also
work.
a testament to Chris Rock and FX. Like Chris had a show that was kind of similar to this.
Yeah.
So he can sort of go, here's what I did, here's the pitfalls, and here's what I think you got. And he was like the one who said, you need to go talk to people on the streets. And I was like, I don't like people. And but it ended up being a lot of fun to talk to people and really find a way to talk to them more. Because I didn't want to go out in the street and make fun of people. I think that's so obnoxious when you stop people in the middle of their day and go, hey, I stopped you and you agreed to talk to me. You're so dumb. And so for me, it's like, hey, we're gonna have a conversation. Let's have a conversation. So
I see a lot of documentaries at film fests. Being a film editor, and there's so many documentaries that seem to be let me take some cameras into some people's lives, and so that we can laugh at them.
Yes.
And
and that's only good if you're Metallica. You know what I mean? Like then
then
it's great. It's great. It's okay to laugh at rich rock stars. That's totally fine.
That's true. Kevin, what is it like to have someone else ride your coattails to become famous-ish?
It's exhausting, and I wish he'd step the hell off.
Yes.
I feel like he has this show because of me. I brought him up. I taught him everything that I know. No, leave it there. Leave it there. Leave it there. This is.
You're hurting me.
This is how it is. Yeah.
No, but in all seriousness, though, being a funny guy, it's got no joke, no pun intended, no joke. It's got to be a little hard to see somebody get the things that you do right that he says. Some of the things he says are things you have written.
Yeah.
It's got to be hard to see somebody else getting the laugh for something that you came up with, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is,
It's
do you hate
bullshit.
Kamau?
It's bullshit. Thank you for bringing that up.
What would you like to say to Kamau right now?
You're fired.
Yeah, I don't think it works that way.
It doesn't. I was gonna give it a shot. Wow, this guy. I feel like you're just starting shit.
It's like suddenly it's gonna be a rap battle at the end of this.
I know.
Can we get a Jerry chant? Can we, no.
No, it's look. I think.
There you
Wow,
go.
it's the guy who wanted me to take my shirt off.
I'll say
Great.
this, quite honestly, if this had worked out a different way, I think I might be Kevin's head writer. You know what I mean? Like, we've known each other for a long time. Even though our comedic... Oh,
No.
okay, maybe not. Even though our comedic voices are very different, we know each other so well that like Kevin's act doesn't look like my act, but he sort of goes, this is what Kamau likes to do.
Yeah.
And he's very good at marshaling the forces of the writers and sort of putting it into a position that I want to, where like, oh yeah, this is what I would say if I had written it, but I don't have time because I have to do interviews with Pace Magazine.
Sure.
And a lot of times we're writing, the challenge, I think it's, except for maybe one part, it's stand-ups, that make up the writing staff of the show. So the challenge for everybody on this show is to write to his voice anyway. So we're writing jokes for him. Yeah. And that's the idea behind the whole thing. So we want to see him deliver it. And it's great to sort of see him take our words and put it out there. And
our writers' room a lot of times is a conversation about the thing that then we all sort of together figure out what's the angle for the show. And we have a lot of conversations in the room about the issues that then turn into jokes. Yeah.
It's an interesting dynamic because, like, I'm always fascinated by bands where there's one person writes the songs, the other person sings them. It's not that I know you do a lot of writing on the show too. I'm not implying that you don't.
It's totally Johnny Bravo. It's totally Johnny Bravo. That reference was too old.
Nobody got that.
Where do you see the show going in? We talked about how you're sort of seeing it develop. Where do you see it going in its second season in as far as direction?
Like when you think of the early days of all the talk shows, like even Colbert and Stewart, like they were all sort of we're still figuring it out, So I feel like that we're going to look at this hopefully one day as our 10 years from now as our early humble beginnings. But I really feel like our challenge is to make it weirder and crazier and more, like if people think we're progressive now, then even push that envelope further. Because I think our job is to stay ahead of the audience, So I think, and be far ahead of them. So I want to bring in more correspondents. I want to get other comics who aren't writers for the show to be on the show. We have Hannibal Buress has been on the show twice. Yes, exactly. One applaud for Hannibal Buress. Reggie Watts has been on the show a couple times. I really want to make this a community, so it's a movement, not just one show.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, we're asking everyone who comes on, since we're here at South by Southwest.
Where are my
free
headphones, is my question. I came here for free headphones. I love talking about the issues, but I see a lot of headphones around here.
Well, you're 2 jokes away. You
Okay,
need
all right.
2 more laughs, and then you've earned it, The black man's got to work twice as hard for half as much, right?
Yes. Oh, I just get one headphone?
And you go back and forth for the good parts.
Stereo.
No, we're asking everybody who comes through to give us a band that you've been listening to recently that you feel like is underexposed, that more people should be listening to, since we're now here at South by Southwest.
Absolutely.
Anybody that comes to mind as somebody people should check out?
This is an older hip hop group, but I feel like it's still way underexposed. The Coup, led by Boots Riley.
Yep.
He just had an album come out last year. It's amazing, and I think it's the future of hip hop, and I think people need to check it out. It's called Sorry to Bother You. Boots Riley is an underutilized resource in the world, and so I would encourage everybody to pick up the Coup's new album, and a Bay Area native, Boots Riley. So
Yep.
Coup.
Yep. Anything
The
you
only
want
one.
to plug?
Has Rufus Wainwright come out with anything recently? Fiona Apple, she working on anything?
I'm literally wearing a Fiona Apple t-shirt right now. And in my head I was like, please do not indicate the
bad girl.
Fiona Apple, underrated. Not a lot of people know who she is.
Now you listen to a lot of music.
I know. I can't think of anybody off.
Does Brandy have a new album out? I know you like
God
her.
damn it. She does. I don't have it. I just know.
Yet.
I can't think of any.
New Edition working on it.
They are. The only person I can think of. This is not a new, but I just saw someone did a documentary on KRS-One. I haven't had a chance to see it. I feel like that dude is still one of the most underrated, like, not just old school, but like godfathers of hip hop out there. And I'm still listening to KRS, and I think I don't know. I just walked by and I saw this poster, and I can't remember the name of the documentary, but it's a KRS-One documentary, and this film is playing here at South by Southwest. So find it, check it out.
Man,
that's all I can.
Are we just 2 black guys who like, hey, you guys heard about hip hop? Is that what we just did?
I think we did.
Hey, white people, you should check out this hippie hoppy music.
I think, yeah.
Is
There's this
sweeping
new
the nation.
thing you might have seen around town.
Also,
Sorry,
Bad Brains has a
everybody.
new album out. Let me just say that. Yeah.
There you go.
Pick up the Bad Brains album.
Yeah.
There you go. Join us for the next 3 days for more interviews from the Sennheiser plus Paste Interactive Studio and Lounge. I'm Michael Dunaway, the film editor of Paste Magazine. Thanks a lot.
Headphones, please.
Headphones. You earned them. You get both.
Hey, man. Thank you.
Woo!